This generation, the first time buyer generation, they have good income, and they are eager to buy. They're just short on cash. And, some parents don't have the extra money to give them. They don't have they're not rating their 401ks to give the money to the kids. There's no trust funds. And so this is really a game changer for those folks that need the little extra help.
Welcome back to the Mortgages Made Easy podcast. Delighted to be sitting with MJ Agostini. MJ is just a fabulous realtor, great representative for sellers and buyers in Central Connecticut. Works with Remix, as you can see from her balloons. And MJ, we were talking about some challenges that you're facing with first-time home buyers. Tell me a little bit more.
Well, thanks again for having me on the podcast today, Dave. It's always a pleasure to be here. The saga goes on with buyers and their difficulties in securing homes these days. They're still faced with multiple offers, bidding wars, making offers, not securing property. And, many of them, as a first-time home buyer, are just scraping up enough cash to get their closing costs and a minimal down payment together. They're just at the verge of qualifying. If we could find a way to relieve some of that pressure in having excess cash available for their purchase, we might have a less anxiety-filled transaction, able to secure a property for a buyer that maybe they ordinarily wouldn't have been able to get, and possibly be able to qualify for a little bit more, to maybe put them in a different category that may not be as competitive. So, I think that if we had a way to do that, and I think you have a program that might just fit that need.
So what we're seeing in some of the first-time home buyers we're speaking is often they have a good income, and maybe the way most young couples are today, or partners, whatever, they have two incomes, so they have enough income to afford a property. And quite often these are people who have great credit. But the challenge has been, for many of the people I work with, how can they pull together enough money for the down payment? And that challenge has been really present for a long time. One of our lenders just announced a program aimed particularly at first-time homebuyers. They must be a first-time homebuyer who are putting down no more than 5%. So if you look at homes in your market, are there a lot of homes in the $400,000 to $500,000 to $600,000 range? So we take a buyer who's ready to put down, let's say, 5% on that home, but they may not have enough. Let's say for a $500,000 home, if they were going to put down 3%, that's $15,000. Plus, they have the closing costs. It's often very tight. Mm-hmm. Our lender will do the following. They will give them a 3% loan to a maximum of $15,000. So on that $500,000 home, putting down 3 to 5%, the lender will give them a second mortgage of $15,000. Again, 3% to a maximum of $15,000. What's amazing about this is, number one, it's interest-free. The interest rate is 0. So they are not paying interest on the loan they're borrowing. Number two, for the duration of the mortgage, they have no payment at all. So it's payment-free interest-free for the duration of the mortgage. When they sell, when they refinance, that's when the lender gets paid back, but they're not paying anything for the mortgage. Now, let's look at a couple of scenarios. Scenario number one, you have somebody who has $15,000. They have exactly enough for the down payment, but they don't have enough for the down payment plus the closing costs. Now you get this $15,000 grant, if you will. It's really home buyer assistance. And now they have enough money to comfortably make that purchase and buy the property. That's scenario number one. I'll give you another scenario that we looked at just the other week. We had a buyer who had enough money for the down payment plus the closing costs, but she had just barely enough income to scrape by. And we found that if we paid off her $9,000 credit card debt, she would be in a much, much better position, both personally, because she would be able to breathe, and also financially, she can get approved without having to go to an exotic product. It makes the difference. It makes a huge difference in people's lives. And that's what we're all about.
Dave, this is such an interesting program, and I think you said it has a little bit of flexibility. So if I had a buyer who had enough for their down payment, they had enough for their closing costs, but they need a new roof on the house, could we use that seller second, or not seller second, but silent second, for a repair of their roof when they purchase the home?
Well, assuming that the roof is in good enough conditions that the lender is going to approve the loan, right? Maybe it's got 5 years left on the loan on the roof, but so it's not a hazardous condition. Yeah, we can do that. I'll give you another situation. One of the things that we know in the industry is that when someone buys a home and they use up every last penny that they have in the world, they are at a greater risk of defaulting.
Right.
And so if you take, let's say, some young people who are buying a home, they've saved up $25,000. They have enough for the purchase. They have enough for the down payment, but it leaves them with no reserves. Now you're going to give them $15,000 to leave in the bank just so they can breathe. Makes a huge difference.
Totally. I mean, that's a game changer for a lot of these young people that are struggling to put together a financial package for themselves and purchase. And you're right. They, this generation, the first time buyer generation, they have good income, and they are eager to buy. They're just short on cash. And, some parents don't have the extra money to give them. They don't have they're not rating their 401ks to give the money to the kids. There's no trust funds. And so this is really a game changer for those folks that need the little extra help.
And by the way, let's just look at the quality of the offer that you can make. So let's say you have that couple and they have exactly enough money for the down payment and the closing costs. They have enough money. They're in a competitive bid situation. And you want to be able to tell the seller, you know what? If the appraisal comes in up to $5,000 short, we will cover it. We will not break the deal if it's only $5,000 short. Now, often that will make a difference between someone saying, no, this is too risky, and no, yeah, we can do that because we know that the house is listed appropriately, and we can get the resources to assure everyone that it feels right.
Well, you bring up a really interesting point, and I had that scenario today where a buyer added in a $15,000 appraisal gap that we know the house is worth the money, but it's a very unique and interesting house that doesn't have a lot of comparables. So it can easily not comp out because there are just not enough comparables to support the value. Although, strategically the number's there. So having the ability to say to a seller, look, I have this $5,000 to $15,000 extra, in my back pocket for things like a shortage, that is a game changer, because sellers will look at that and go, okay, a lot of times people say it, but they can't back it up. They say, oh, I'll figure it out. I'll come up with the extra 5, or I'll come up with the extra 10. And the sellers are like, okay, well, prove it. Do you have a bank account that shows it? Or do you have a gift letter that someone's given it to you? Are you selling stock, or, you're selling lemonade on the street to get the money, whatever. But this way that could even be part of the whole offer. And it's right there, in their pre-approval letter that they're getting that, $15,000 grant to cover that.
Yeah, I bet we can together brainstorm. There are lots and lots of people we can help get over that first-time home buyer, and we know everyone, professionals in the real estate business know that helping somebody buy a home is determinative of the total wealth down the road.
Oh, yeah.
Buyers have far greater wealth than people who are renters.
Absolutely. I mean, that's our goal, is to try to get as many people that are qualified to buy a home. Not everybody's qualified to buy a home, not just financially, but of course, mentally and physically, because, not everybody fits that category, but the buyers and sellers that we deal with certainly, want to be able to have the opportunity for home ownership. If they want it, they should be able to get it.
Yes. And let's make it happen.
Okay. Excellent.
This has been the Mortgages Made Easy podcast. I'm Dave Steinberg, and we're here with MJ Agostini. MJ's information is going to be down below, and please reach out to her if you are looking to buy or sell in Connecticut, and I'm here to help as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dave. It was a pleasure to be here. And again, reach out to Dave at Summit Funding for all of your lending needs.